And I'm getting Mr. Sci-Fi up and running. There we go. Hi, guys. It's Mr. Sci-Fi, and we're here amidst all the fires. Fortunately, they're not close, but the sky is definitely of a reddish hue. So, and we'll see who comes and joins us tonight. It's going to be exciting beyond words. So, sadly, we just heard of the passing of Diana Rigg. Very sorry to hear that. She was amazing. And if you never saw her when she was young, boy, you missed something. So she was terrific. And in Game of Thrones, she was equally terrific. So there you go.
So how are you, Adam?
Yeah. When you tell people she was in the TV series The Avengers,
they don't know what that is.
You have to explain them.
The English series, yeah.
Yes, not that
the
Avengers.
Marvel Avengers.
Right. So here we all are.
They made a movie about that Avengers.
Yeah, not great.
Not a good one,
Sean Connery and
no,
it was.
He might have been in it.
It was Ray Fiennes and Uma Thurman. Really a mistake.
Yep.
Another bad movie. So, but here we are. Hi, Mark Lungo, and so we might as well get started because it's time, and if it's just us, it's just us. Well, yes. So, Adam, would you like
more people coming in? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Do you want to take your turn, Adam? You're
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us what you need.
Hi, guys, and any new people coming in. Hi, Annie. Welcome back. I'm Adam Sartain. I'm an voice actor with 75 different voices, accents, and impressions. Oh, boy. And I am also a musician.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also a musician.
Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
I play the tuba. And I just had an audition yesterday that I had a friend help me with.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first time doing a self-tape with a Zoom reader, so that was interesting. It worked out great.
So. Fun. That's good. Terrific. So, is there anything new?
Yeah, it's for not really.
Okay.
I mean,
I have a question.
More acting gigs would be nice.
Great.
But
Elaine has a question.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Well, with regards to playing the tuba, when you decided to learn the tuba,
yes,
what possessed you?
Here's an interesting story about that.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to learn the baritone horn or euphonium. In high school, I was told to take up the tuba by my band director, who in marching band we didn't have all of at the beginning of my sophomore year, all of the sousaphone players had either graduated or quit band, and so we would have been tubaless. And the band director comes to me and says, "You're playing tuba now." Not can you please play tuba? Not we need you to play tuba.
Right.
You're playing tuba now.
There you go.
End of discussion.
But not only that, but tuba in a marching band.
Yes, I went for.
Remind me to walk 7 miles carrying a tuba.
Yeah, it was a sousaphone. It was a sousaphone. But
Great.
In many circles, the two words are interchangeable, but I actually have a pet peeve of calling a sousaphone a tuba.
Yes.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely evil.
But I play both sousaphone and tuba.
Well, great. So anything else that you wanted to add, Adam?
I have my friend who did an old web series that I was in called Everybody Loves Luigi is resurrecting it. So we have a table read on Sunday. That's really fun.
That's great.
And the question, because you talk about acting roles, I was wondering, do you have a really solid reel on your site?
I've been trying to develop it. I haven't been able to add much to it lately. So that's hence why I'm looking for more roles to play so I can add to my reel.
Got it.
And get it a little more fresh.
Yes.
Most of the stuff is from a few years ago.
Okay.
But I would really strongly suggest that you do develop your own material, because, if you have evidence of being able to play like very realistic but unusual characters, offbeat characters, that would be, characters. That would be that we're in short supply during the studio system. There were these great actors. You'd see them everywhere, and they'd bring a script to life.
Yes.
So if you had some really strong. What put this in my mind was we just saw 12 Angry Men again, the film.
It's a movie, yeah,
with 12 brilliant actors. So, if you just like concocted that or found some material and shot that, via Zoom with somebody else, that would probably be valuable on your site.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, 3 cheers, Adam! Yay! So, is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
There are lots. They're just coming in from all over the place.
That's great.
But, we'll start with the first one from Hayes 494.
Hello.
Who asks, why was Odyssey 5 canceled? It was a sci-fi show created by Manny Cotto in 2002.
Yeah.
Would you or anyone on the table be interested in bringing it back or remaking it?
Here's the thing about it. It was made by Showtime. Interestingly enough, the actress who was one of the leads in that show was actually going to play Sulu's daughter in the Star Trek episode, and then she needed to have surgery at the last minute, and so we cast Christina Moses, which was, of course, a great thing. But Manny actually showed me the pilot of Odyssey 5 before it even aired, because he and I knew each other. And I think it just didn't kind of click with the audiences for whatever reason, and Showtime just didn't renew it. That happens. But if it were going to get a reboot, you'd have to go to, whoever owns Showtime now, and you'd also have to reach out to Manny. So that would be the way to do it. But it's very difficult. And, it costs millions of dollars to mount or remount a show. It's much easier to suggest offshoot comic books, novels, that kind of things, even audio dramas, because the cost is so much less. And so that's some of it, But yeah, it was a show that came and went, sadly. But, that's the nature of the beast nowadays. So. But 3 cheers, yay! And I'll have to see what Manny's up to. I'll have to reach out to him. So now, Paul, I saw that you're there, so I know you're checking in from London. So if you want to take your turn, I think that'd be great.
All right. Not a lot to tell you, but like the new haircut. And congratulations, Elaine, as well.
Yes, thanks.
Do you do the scissors?
Well, Elaine actually got a professional haircut, and I just took the shears to myself like a sheep.
Beverly Hills, there are very strict rules, but now you're allowed to go into a salon if it's just like you and one other person, and everybody's wearing masks and everything's cleaned. So it's very, very strict. But Beverly Hills just started letting people go in, but it's like there's a whole salon. You can only have 2 people in there.
Yep.
Well, I should have been in LA this week, but of course Virgin cancelled the flight, so I'm stuck in rainy Liverpool.
That's a shame. Well, so is there anything else you need or anything else we can do for you right now?
I think we're going to be back in lockdown by Monday. So
okay.
Oh, really?
Man.
Has there been a downward turn?
It was in the news. Yeah, I heard about that. So I think
I'm sorry about all the fires you got out there as well.
Yes, it's. I mean, again, this really speaks to selfish, incompetent leadership. Because I mean, and I don't want to get political, but again, when you think back, because I produce sliders, and so thinking about alternative timelines is of great interest to me. And again, I don't mean to slam anyone's political views, but if Al Gore had been president with his focus on climate change, can you imagine how different the world would be now if we'd had a president 20 years ago who made that a super important issue? Because clearly we're going to get hammered by climate change. I mean, between the hurricanes and the cyclones and the fires and all of these things. I mean, it's interesting because in the Space Command prequel, in the audio play and the graphic novel, I deal with that issue because Neil deGrasse Tyson and I had a lengthy conversation about that a couple years ago. And so it's I mean, it's a shame that we aren't much further along in turning that around, because it sure needs that. I mean, it's horrible.
I don't want to get tied up in the political, but do you think Donald Trump's going to get in again?
There's no telling. And again, I don't want to get too political, because again,
I would start. I'm unfortunate. I would start.
You'll
to
froth.
Foam.
Yeah, you'll foam at the mouth. Yeah, steam from the ears.
But the one interesting thing is we're way in the south of where the fires are.
Yes, but the sky is red.
But the sky is gray-red.
And the cars are all covered in ash.
And I've got family in Oregon as well, so
yeah, wow.
But oh my God,
yeah, it's
the odd thing that happened was nuclear winter, which
yes.
it's very, very hot.
It was supposed to be in the 90s, but instead it's cooler because of all the ash.
Because of the it's a nuclear winter. It's like the clouding of the ash.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, the air in North Hollywood is not breathable. I'm having a real problem.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Well,
we had 2 people left today from the Pico Rivera studios because we're 2 miles from the fires, and they just didn't like the congestion anymore.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Well, I understand that. I mean, it's making a lot of people with any
all
kind
I can say to everyone is stay safe.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks very much. 3 cheers.
Yeah.
Yay.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
I fell asleep last week again.
Well, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Let's go to our next question, which, from Arkansas, Big Dog Hensley,
Hi.
who asks, how is the filming coming along?
It's coming along great. We're putting together sequences on the second hour of the pilot. Dave and I have been coordinating on that with some of our visual effects artists, and the sets are being completed now for the alien spaceship. And David Bartlett is point man on that stuff, and it's coming along great. If you want to see what the alien ship sets look like, I posted a video the other day, and they're really, really cool. And that isn't even all of them. I mean, it's just part of it, and it isn't all lit up yet. But no, we're heading along. I mean, the challenge is continually raising the funds that we need. I had a conversation with a film producer who's been helping us, and he may be able to bring in significantly more money so we can actually complete the first 4 episodes, the 4 hours of the first 4 hours of Space Command. And because we need to raise, $200,000-300,000 to complete filming of what we're trying to get shot. But and then beyond that, it's the entire first season. But that's down the road, thank God.
And of course, the COVID rules are shifting constantly.
Yes.
And so it's a question of, as they learn more and as they devise more. And,
yeah.
And so part of it is just saying, well, what can we do? How do we have to rethink this?
Yes.
So you do have to keep, that does make it a little more complicated.
Yeah. So, was there a Mr. Sci-Fi question, or did I miss? I'm sorry. Did I miss that? Did you ask the question, Adam? I'm sorry.
That was the Mr. Sci-Fi
okay,
question.
Good. So I guess Judith. Yes.
But, I should mention Gregory Krug says I should look up the Huel Hauser episode on tubas. I believe I know exactly what he's talking about.
Great.
There's a thing called Tuba Christmas where a bunch of tuba players come together and play Christmas songs. I've done several tuba Christmases.
Yes, it doesn't get better. Huel Hauser was a host of a local show here in California for many years, where he would go around and show different places you could visit that generally you wouldn't know about. And he was really entertaining, and sadly he's no longer with us, but his shows were great, and I think some of them are on YouTube now, and I mean it's great that we can
they were amazing.
Yeah, they were great.
You have this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So Judith, why don't you take your turn? You're next on our screen.
Your hair, both of you, looks gorgeous.
Thanks.
I'm getting mine done this week.
Great.
Judith Smiley, actress, singer, narrator, voices. I'm doing my demo on Thursday. It's being shot by Scotty Baker. And, and I'm excited about that. So I got the hair done and the nails done and everything else, and clean up the house and all that good stuff. I gave the script to my cousin Billy, who wrote, produced, and directed Home Improvement, and it passed the Billy test. So I'm happy about that. He added a few twists to it that makes it very funny. And I'm gearing towards that, and then afterwards I want to get my animation demo done, and I'll put all my voices down on, because I'm a Gemini, don't like me wait 5 minutes, and get all that done. And I've got I just got another idea as a continuation for my dragon movie, with dragons in space.
Okay.
Well, the bad dragons tried to pull the sun away from its. So that's just being formulated. I just got a lot of stuff to take care of after this.
That sounds awesome.
Huh? I've got it. Yeah, I've got. Huh? Somebody said something?
Yeah, Ani, what were you saying?
Oh, I just thought the dragon thing sounded really cool.
Okay, good. There we go. Okay, so go on, Judith, please.
I have a house. If you would see my house, I've got about 30 dragons there. That different people have given me from one moment. You know, you've been here.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then Adam, I'll talk with you next week about marketing. That's what I really want to put. My agent is getting ready to really send me out after I do the demo. And I've got some other pieces to add to it when I have the money. Elaine has very kindly said I could use something of hers. I have a script with Tom Katz's, and then I have another really evil character that I want to do because I grew up doing witches. I have a friend of mine who has a daughter who's 35 and says, "Judy, please do your witchy." That's it. That's the bitty. Then that's all, folks.
Okay, so cheers. Yay.
Thank you.
It was hers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
I believe there is. Yes, Sean Murphy asks, who's from Florida, asks, what version of 12 Angry Men was the best, the original or the so-so remake?
There's actually,
I think he has an opinion already.
There's an original live TV version with Francho Tone and Edward Arnold and oh gosh, who's the lead in it? Robert Cummings. And it's good, but the movie that was made after that with Henry Fonda, of course, is the great version of it. So I highly recommend that. It's got an amazing cast, Jack Klugman and Lee J. Cobb and so forth, and really spectacular film. So it's terrific. For many years, by the way, the original version of the live TV version, half of it was lost. And it's only after a judge died, it turned out that without telling anyone, he had written to the network and asked them to send him a kinescope of the hour, and it was in his attic, the complete hour, without anyone knowing it was in existence. So it was only found in recent years, and for 50 years or so, it had been completely missing that last half hour of the hour-long show. So now, when you buy the Criterion disc, you can also get the live TV version on that, which is really interesting to compare with the movie. But the movie is really much stronger. So cool. So I guess Ani, if you want to take your turn, go for it.
Hi, sorry if I interrupted before. I just
no, it's fine.
Was a cool thing. I'm always down for dragons.
Sure.
Not much has changed. I'm going to start my classes next week. That should be fun. I recently actually got a quick gig as like I don't know what I was, like an editor or like a test audience for like a YA book. And they sent me the first 5 chapters because I was the target audience to see what was up. And I proceeded to tear them to shreds. And I got paid for it. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So that's basically all that's been happening, really. No big strides or changes. But I heard about what's been happening with the fires, and I got like a text from my cousin saying, meanwhile in the South, I'm just like, oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
They're fine. It just felt like freaking me out at 10 p.m.
But all of this stuff is really just prelude. I mean, we really have to take action, and big time. They on the radio, they mentioned that since the 1970s, 68% of all the animals on Earth have gone missing, gone extinct, 68%, and that's pretty bad. So of the populations of all these animals. So is there anything else you need, Ani, other than Earth cooling down?
Not really, no. Like I said, not much has changed.
Okay.
But it's nice to see everyone again.
Yeah, you too. Yay! 3 cheers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Let's see. I don't think so.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
I think we're all caught up. Sean Murphy also says he's in Florida and he's wishing for major hurricanes to aim at the Texas-Mexico border and move fast over to California to douse the fires.
Yes. Well, that's that. We'll see what happens, but I
think that would be a little more harmful than good. But
yeah,
it's the thought that counts.
I mean, yeah, and it's just I mean, we're all in this together, so absolutely. So cool. So I guess Jacob, you're next. If you want to take your turn.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Very happy to be back. I've been real busy. I've been, as you can see, I've been cutting my hair, and I do a thorough job. Also putting together elements of my movie and the production.
Great.
And that's it's like one big Lego set. One piece fits here, one piece fits there. Sometimes a piece doesn't fit, and you got to put it aside. But it's just amazing what happens when like-minded people get together and the right people come in.
Yes.
Things just move to the next step. So I got to hand it to you. I admire you, what you can do and what you've done with Space Command and all the people involved with it.
It's fun.
Otherwise, it's basically putting one foot in front of the other and just keep going and keep that mountain in your sight, no matter whether there's clouds or sleet or snow or fog. You just kind of have to go to that mountain.
Great. Well, cool. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
Great.
So is there another question, Adam?
We do have another question now from Mark Lungo, who asks, which of the real Ghostbusters is your favorite?
My favorite is one I wrote called Station Identification. That's a satire of television. So it has a satire of the 60 Minutes, of Andy Rooney and Geraldo Rivera, and it's got a combination. I created a character that was a combination of Gumby and Rambo that I called Gumbo, and that was just very, very fun. And so that's my personal favorite. And, and then, of course, Michael Reeves wrote Collect Call of Cthulhu, which is the title alone is worth the price of admission.
And what was yours called again?
Collect Call of Cthulhu.
No, your episode?
Station Identification.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a really fun show to write. Very, very fun. So, okay, cool. So, Mike, I guess you're up, Mike.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. My name is Mike Lopez, retired cop turned filmmaker. So if y'all need any help with any law enforcement elements in your projects, I can help you out with that.
Great.
Thanks. Helped out Elaine there.
I did. I gave him a call. I said, "What would you be toting on the street?" I did.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she had to listen to me talk for a little while. I got a little bit of that too. Still, Elaine's a good person. She really is.
Yeah,
we don't always see eye to eye, but she's always willing to sit and listen. And she's really good. She's a good person.
Yeah,
well,
she's a great soul.
We want to take different roads, but we want to go to the same place.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
Well, and
all
also
roads lead to Rome.
Yes, and also, Mike, the whole idea of the table is that we don't want everyone who's just the same as us. We don't want people who are. I mean, it's everyone who comes with a good heart. That's the requirement, and if you bring compassion and mutual support. I mean, what you've been doing for Jim is just so outstanding, and I know that you've gotten a lot in reward emotionally also. So I mean, but again, I think the world. I was thinking about this. It's like if your stand toward the world is hate and fear and violence, you're creating a much worse world. Whereas on the other hand, if your stand toward the world is kindness and compassion, it makes a world that we all want to live in. And that's not to say that we don't need police. We do, obviously, but I think there's a lot to be said for what we are all able to create together just by caring about each other and putting that into action. I think you've done a great job in terms of what you and Jim have been to each other. I think it's terrific.
How is Jim today?
Jim is doing well. He's a little sleepy right now.
Yeah.
He's a little tired.
Yeah, I know the feeling. So
well, it's the heat, I think it's the heat.
Yes.
I felt like we were in an episode in the Midnight Sun episode of Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Mike, I'm nominating you for sainthood, and I'm an atheist.
There you go. So there you're on the, yeah, wow. You should start your list of saints, Dave. I think that'd be pretty funny. You know, so I think that's a great idea. So is there anything you need, Mike?
No, actually, I finally resolved all of my editing program issues.
Wow,
great.
It's back on track. It took a couple weeks, but you know, we all worked together, and Mark and Dave and I, and we got it taken care of. So I'm ready to actually. I want to send it out. I got my first cut, the rough cut, but I do want to send it out to a professional editor, someone who knows a little bit more than me, maybe make it a little bit better, because I want to submit it to some festivals. You know.
Wow.
Also, I was thinking maybe if it might need some scoring too, because it's you know it's one of Jim's plays that we adapted, and it's heavily character driven, and it's a real drama. It's not comedy or action. It's a stage play basically. So we were able to turn it into a stage play, into a movie. So those are two things I'm thinking of doing.
Cool.
Other than that, just working through all of my problems. You know, you mentioned 12 Angry Men. I've had fights with 12 Angry Men at one time. So
yes, sure.
I know what that's like.
Well, you know, it's interesting because the, you know, because I wrote extensively about 1950s TV when I did the Twilight Zone book, and there were several writers who rose to prominence in live television. The main one, of course, was Rod Serling. Then there was another one named Paddy Chayefsky, who then went on to write movies like Network and so forth. And he also wrote Marty, which is a great film if you've never seen it. But the third one of that triumvirate was Reginald Rose, who wrote 12 Angry Men, which is a terrific movie. And but he didn't like to be in the limelight as much as Chayefsky and Serling. They liked to be in front of the camera. They liked to be personalities, whereas Reginald Rose just wanted to write and have that speak for him. So he's not as well known now at all, but he was on a par with Serling back in the day.
Well, especially with it, and you could, but also he's very fortunate with the actors, because Henry Fonda in 12 Angry Men versus
terrific.
Jack Lemmon.
Yes.
He's Jack Lemmon. Who's
that was the dog. Sorry, guys.
Who's a wonderful actor. He was just completely wrong for the role. It just, so when Jack Lemmon gave it a shot.
Well, that's a later version, yeah.
That was a later version, yes. Yeah. So, and in terms of music, in working with the South African piece, one of the things that we were integrating, because his dad was a great aficionado of classical music, was a lot of like Beethoven, things like that, classical music woven in. And I called David Rakelin, and I asked him about which would be really good recordings, because when you set a serious drama, a lot of the more classical films, they pull in a lot of very fine classical stuff. And you could say, here's to David Rakelin and say, Elaine said, you might make a few suggestions. If it's this kind of drama, we have this kind of emotion, can you tell me some things to listen to? You might come up with some really cool stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Just from classical.
I got a lot of classical music, so.
That's great. That's great. But that was helpful to, that was helpful. You have to be careful that the specific recordings aren't copyrighted or aren't still copyrighted that you put in your film. But the classical music, that was just because that was a request of Peter Hain, who was the writer of the book. But it was working very, very well.
Yeah. So anything else, Mike?
Oh, that's it.
Okay.
That's all, yeah.
Yay. 3 cheers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. We've got another question from Arkansas Big Dog Hensley, who asks, out of all the types of species, and I believe he's talking about your work on Star Trek Next Generation.
Yes.
Which is your favorite? Vulcan, humans, Klingons?
Well, if you're talking about the Star Trek universe, I mean, writing Spock is always fun, great fun. But it's like I mainly write for actors. I mean, writing for George Takei and Christina Moses was wonderful. Writing for Armin Shimmerman, Bob Picardo, Mira. I mean, all the people we've been casting, it's a thrill because we're writing for very, very talented actors. You know, and I saw someone was also mentioning about Leslie Silva. Yes, Leslie Silva was originally cast to play Sulu's daughter, and in fact, we have video of her rehearsing with George in that role. But sadly, that wasn't to be. But my God, Christina Moses was just phenomenal in that role, just staggeringly wonderful. And we're working with her again on Space Command and on other projects coming down the pike. So we'll see what happens. So let's see, Irina, why don't we do you? Because I know you're in New York.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, how are you doing? Wanted to check out, because of the fires. I mean, the pictures are absolutely beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine.
We're in a safe area, but a lot of the communities, in Oregon and California,
Northern California,
a lot of communities are being wiped off the map. It's a terrible, terrible thing. They usually can. In the olden times, they used to be able to stop the fire before they hit communities, but now it's really, really bad. So it is, but we're safe. We're very far from the forest area.
How's the air quality by you?
Fine. It's a little.
Well, it's okay for us.
It's a little smoky, but not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
It's okay for us. There's some ash on the car, but as you go north, it gets worse and worse. But we're fine.
In North Hollywood, it's terrible.
Wow.
With anyone with a breathing ailment is in trouble.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, because the pictures of San Francisco, look like a Blade Runner, like.
Wow.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
in the future or something. Yeah.
They do. So, is there anything you need? How are you doing?
Well, keeping myself busy.
Okay.
Just signed up for TV writing class.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be doing additional development on my TV series.
Mm-hmm.
I already wrote the pilot and the Bible, but here I'm going to be working on developing engine, learning about how to do it properly. And also we'll be writing second episode.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting because a lot of times the second episode actually gives you more information and also different perspective on your pilot. So we'll see what happens. And, still working on my web series, posted a new episode and editing another episode. And with my friend in LA, we finalized the pilot for her comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And this weekend, we'll be shooting episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
And, last time I mentioned, now we have a producer who's joining us, for all the behind the scenes monetary aspects that, we artists really struggle with.
Yes.
So hopefully, it's going to be a great addition to the team, to move forward, more successfully.
Great.
Because as of right now, we're just doing it on our own. But, at some point, it would be great to actually have some financial support as well.
Oh, good.
So that's pretty much it, keeping myself busy and,
Okay.
Still be careful because I don't know about LA. I think here in New Jersey, they just announced that they're going to allow indoor dining.
Huh.
So,
wow. Sure.
Yeah,
No,
I'm expecting things to kind of not be so well anymore once it happens. Because people will be more relaxed, and will think that, the virus is gone, basically.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, good luck. So,
California,
be careful.
We can eat in outdoor, widely spaced things.
Yeah.
But where the tables are widely spaced, or they have plastic guards between the tables.
Yeah.
But no indoor eating and they're still pretty strict.
I think here they kind of are facing this kind of a situation that the seasons are going to change soon.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't change this rule, the entire, food industry, restaurants, they're all going to be out of business. They're already struggling. Already a lot of businesses closed. So I think they just kind of have no choice but allow. Just, we'll see if people will be responsible or not.
Yes. Well, yeah. So anything.
And you are shooting now? You're back in action?
We're ramping up to shoot. We're not shooting yet, but very, very soon. And of course, we'll be
when do you think you will start the production again?
That's a conversation we're having with David Bartlett now. It'll be a few weeks, but we can't be certain quite yet. Again, because of the rules around the pandemic, and but yeah, we're heading there. But we're going to do a table read of the new pilot Elaine and I just wrote with our actors in the next week or two. So that's going to be very, very fun. So
that's fun. Are you gonna film it?
Yeah, we'll put it out on Mr. Sci-Fi, and this is the show we're creating with Rockne O'Bannon, who created Farscape and Defiance and all those other shows. So it'll be cool. But great. So anything else, Irina?
Well, I already followed up with David about behind the scenes, so I think we're all good.
Great. Okay, yay! 3 cheers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Well, we kind of already answered our next question. So if you want, we can go to Kaushik, who needs to leave early.
Okay. Well, there was actually a question about Ray Bradbury. I noticed that. I don't know if you caught that one.
Oh yeah. We can let's do that one. Ferdberg Laboratories, and I hopefully said that correctly.
Yes.
Says cheers from Germany, and thank you for celebrating good old Ray Bradbury.
Yes.
Can you recommend any hidden Bradbury gems?
Yes, I can. First of all, there's a great an hour-long. Oh, and Judith, you might want to mute your mic.
I got her.
Yeah. There's a great hour-long episode of Hitchcock Presents that Ray wrote based on his short story, The Jar, which is about this jar that has these weird eyeballs and things in it, and people are speculating what it is, and it has Jane Darwell in it and all these wonderful actors. It's really fun. In terms of Ray's work, I mean, Jesus, Martian Chronicles is great if you've never read it. Fahrenheit 451, of course. But in terms of other stuff, gosh, there's just so many things that Ray wrote. I mean, the EC Comics adaptations of his work are spectacular. So if you haven't ever read those adaptations in Weird Science or Weird Science Fantasy, you can check those out there, and they've been published in hardcover.
How's Ray Bradbury Theater?
It's okay. It's not great. But the radio adaptations, Dimension X and X-1 particularly, their radio adaptations of Ray's stories are spectacular, really, really wonderful. And so that's some of the stuff. If I think of other things, I'll tell you. I mean,
what was the series from a few years ago? Just lasted 1 year. It had one of those names like The Whispers or something like that. It was based on a short story about. I'm drawing a blank. You don't recall it?
I don't know.
I'll look it up and get back to you. We can fix this in post.
Yeah, sure. And the and then yes, please. And then also, of course, Ray did readings of some of his works, which you can get on Audible. Like you can have the reading he did of the Martian Chronicles, or he also read Fahrenheit 451 in its entirety. So it's really fun. It's fun to listen to him read the stories himself. And he was one of a kind. I mean, there's no one else like him. So, and of course, Moby Dick, the version of Moby Dick he wrote with John Huston and Gregory Peck is really well worth checking out. So that's some of it. So let's go to you, Kaushik.
Hi, everyone. So I'm back in my LSEC filmmaking class.
Oh, great.
Great.
Yeah. We're going to have a class every Thursday at 6:00. So I'll try to jump into table meetings at 5:30.
Great.
For half an hour.
Great.
Great.
We are back in making 3 short films, and I will see what best I can do. Right now, I'm working on a great advice that Elaine gave me once.
Mm-hmm.
She said that watch films that you like silently.
Yes.
Then you will really start understanding the camera work, how they directed the film visually. And that's what I've been doing right now. I think I watched almost 5 films.
Wow.
All comedy.
Yes.
No sound. I'm just watching how the camera is being placed and how they're following the character, how they're focusing on something.
Yes.
And all the films that I have already watched. So I'm not trying to catch the story because I already know the story.
Yes, good. That's good. Yeah,
Right.
and of course,
Good learn.
and of course, even I know you're turning these are sound films and you're turning the sound off, but also some of the silent comedians were spectacular, like Buster Keaton and Laurel and Hardy. I love Laurel and Hardy both in sound and silent. And Chaplin, of course, is the great master. He City Lights is a brilliant piece of work. Modern Times. I mean, these are well worth watching and
something
amazing.
that helped me that I never thought would. I was working with Dave Edison doing a paper edit just by enumerating what the shots were in what we shot. It took me about a year. I enumerated every turn, every look, because we moved things around, and I had it by number, and it was like a year of just going over footage and putting it all in categories. And I came from theater, and until then, I really didn't visually. It was a struggle for me to envision something shot by shot. And then after that, I suddenly realized I was seeing differently.
Yes.
I was seeing in those pieces.
Yes.
And it's just that, and I didn't think that I was going there, but it actually, so now my mind shifted. So when I see putting together a scene, it's no longer the scene where I'm in the audience.
Right.
It's that, how the camera moves. So that, just sitting with a good editor, if they'll let you, and watch the way it's put together, I think that at least it helped me quite a bit.
Cool. That's great. So anything else?
That's all for now.
Yay. 3 cheers. Now, one thing I want to mention before we answer the next Mr. Sci-Fi question is I've been talking with my team about something cool that we can put out to the fans. And many of you know that I was an artist before I was a writer when I was in my teens and 20s, early 20s. And when Star Wars came out, I actually drew this drawing of Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So you can see that there. And so we're going to be putting out a limited edition of 100 that I'll be signing and inscribing to the fans who buy it. So that'll help us raise money for Space Command, and also it'll allow me to, put out my little the only Star Wars drawing I ever did. And though actually I applied for a job that turned out to be the job that Ralph McQuarrie got on Star Wars. So I actually did some preliminary artwork as my audition, but they hired Ralph McQuarrie, and obviously that was the right choice. And so is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, there is.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I'm navigating a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
Let's go to our next question from Hayes494. Who says, have you or Elaine ever seen Gordimer Gibbon's Life on Normal Street?
No.
It was a great soft sci-fi children's series on Amazon.
Wow. No, I'll have to check it out. Thanks for the tip.
And it had a great message every episode in a Rod Serling-like way for children.
That's cool. Wow. That's very, very cool. So I guess now we go to Dave Edison, the immortal Dave Edison, and so forth.
Wait, aren't you missing Carol?
Oh, yeah, but let's do Dave since I've already announced him, and then we'll do Carol afterwards.
Well, not yet immortal, but someday.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, by the way, I just looked it up. Yeah, it was called The Whispers, 2015 series, just lasted a year, but apparently very loosely based on Ray's 1951 short story 0 Hour.
Yes,
from
yes.
the Illustrated Man collection.
Yeah, so. and there was a great radio adaptation of that story on X-1, and I think they also adapted it for the Hitchcock show as a half hour. And Ray, and it's interesting because Ray, as unhappy as Ray was with Twilight Zone, he was very happy with the scripts he wrote for Hitchcock. He felt they really respected him and shot the scripts the way he wrote them, and so forth. So, and of course, that show was run by Norman Lloyd, who we're now reaching out to see if he can be in Space Command. He's 105, so we'll see what happens.
There you go.
Yeah,
Sweet Haven, even.
Yeah, exactly. That's for exactly. So, go ahead, Dave.
Very special guest star.
Yes, exactly.
I should say, I forgot to say earlier, Paul had to leave, but he says goodbye to him.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Happy trails.
Okay.
So, back to the immortal Dave Edison.
Yes.
Yes, Dave Edison, editor of many things, including Space Command, which makes me, it's stressing that immortal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's going on forever, so I guess it is. Yeah, we're having a good week. We've gotten a new sequence that we've been trying to get this this sequence nailed down, this VFX sequence, and we've got some really nice shots in. A few, maybe a half a dozen more are uploading from the VFX artists. So that'll take us another step closer to finishing the second episode.
Great.
And David Bartlett, I've been talking with him about what's going on in the studio, and when we're gearing up to shoot, I'll probably be the DIT on that, wrangling the video footage as it's shot.
Great.
So need to know that, and looking forward to getting some new footage in.
Cool.
So other than that, I noticed that this is up on Amazon. I'm holding up Sci-Fi.
Wow.
I'm holding up the Blu-ray of Remember the Sultana. And
That's
you've
great.
got Amazon Prime. You can watch this documentary. It's a very interesting story. I edited this documentary a few or so years ago, and it was executive produced by Sean Astin of Goonies and Rudy and Lord of the Rings, and who also narrates it.
Wow.
And it's the story of an ill-fated steamboat, a side-wheeler in the Civil War, at the end of the Civil War. And it's the story of the worst maritime disaster in American history, worse than the Titanic, that very few people know about. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's included. So punch it up and find out a very interesting story. Other than that, I'll keep sending you stuff, Mark. You'll let me know when what else you need.
Great.
And unless I can figure out some way around it, moving on.
Terrific. Yay. 3 cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam.
Yes, but before we get to that, I did want to give a shout out to Space Command's own Brian McClure, whose movie, In Other Words, speaking of Amazon Prime, is out on Amazon Prime, as well as several other like YouTube movies and stuff like that. So,
Great.
Yay for Brian McClure. So our next question is from Mark Lungo, who asks, what did you think of Filmation's Star Trek cartoon, particularly the new characters RX and MRES?
I thought it was a really interesting show. In fact, when I was in high school, my friend Elliot Chang, there used to be something called public access that was sort of like what people do now with YouTube channels. It was like anyone could have their own public access show, but it was very low rent. And so Elliot wanted to do a pilot for a half-hour science fiction interview show called Sequitur. And so for the first episode, we set up an interview with the people making the Star Trek cartoon show. It was in production at that point. It was 1973. And so we actually interviewed Dorothy Fontana, the great DC Fontana, who'd been a writer and story editor on the original Star Trek, on the real show. And she was running the cartoon one. And so they did a good job. They had some scripts by David Gerald, and they brought back Harry Mudd, and they had all sorts of interesting things. A lot of them, because they were live action writers, didn't quite know what worked in animation and what didn't. So they'd have scenes of someone in jeopardy, and it wouldn't quite work the way it would in live action. But it was still a good show. It was fun and true to the original. And I remember,
you could have actual odd aliens in those days, not just people in costumes.
Yes, and
somewhere around here, I can't put my hand up, but somewhere I have the entire set on Laserdisc.
Wow! But the thing that was very interesting was when they were in pre-production, there was a science fiction convention going on. I think it was a World Science Fiction Convention, and they actually, Filmation, put up the character drawings and said, please give us notes on what you like and what you don't like about these designs. And the fans wrote down, they had like sheets below each of these where you could write in your comments, and then they changed the characters based on those comments so they would be more accurate to the show. And I thought that was really great and unusual. So it was a very interesting show, and well worth checking out, you know. And
you worked for Filmation, didn't you?
Yeah, I did extensively. And But another thing they did that was very interesting was Ron Thornton, the great Ron Thornton, who designed Babylon 5's visual effects and worked on Space Command briefly before his untimely death. He told me that something he really wanted to do was he wanted to take those audio tracks from the animated show, because it was Nimoy and Shatner and everybody, and redo those shows with photorealistic computer animation. And he actually had done a test to show what it would look like. And I never saw that test, but it sounded like such a fun idea. And it's a shame he never got to do that. So that would have been very, very fun. So great. So let's see. So Carol, I guess you're next if you want to rock and roll.
Unmute's a good thing.
Yeah.
Take the glasses. Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I think is 29 years since 9/11.
Wow.
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 Yeah. So a little prayer. I'll be grateful we
Mhm.
weren't there or whatever.
I think it's 19.
It would be
19 years. Yeah, 19 years.
Wasn't it 91?
No, it was 2001.
2001.
Oh, that's where I mixed up. Okay,
Yeah.
I mixed up. The earthquake was 94. Okay.
Yeah, same difference.
All right, same prayer though.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
You're juggling your disasters. There's way too
Yeah,
many.
right.
Yeah.
Right. We're a little ensconced in disasters right now.
Yes.
Let me see. All right. Okay, so 20 musicals out in New York, 36 commercials, very available for table reads. I would love to do some right now. I have a little list. Where did it go? Oh, Judith, good luck with your reel. Good luck in shooting your reel tomorrow. That's great. Jim, if you need a singer for your music for your movie, I have 4 octaves. So whatever you need, I can. If you need a singer or whatever, I know you need music. Elaine, thank you so much. Last week I said the egregious request of what's important in a pitch, and you said the hook.
Yes.
And I gave a pitch on Sunday.
Oh wow!
I know, for someone from Bento Box. It was very exciting, and I had my little schemata, and I outlined it, and then I thought, wait a minute, Elaine, the hook, and all of a sudden, for me, it burst. It completely, I connected. Suddenly, it made it connect. It connected.
Great.
I mean, when I was done, I yelled out the window, "Yay, Carol!" Like everyone heard. But,
Good job.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I was
great.
really excited. I don't know what's going to happen, but I felt very complete, and thank you for that.
Great.
Sure. Yeah.
You guys are so freaking awesome. You're so awesome. So I have 2 questions.
Sure.
One, can you have a reel of tons of old stuff?
No. No. Your reel has to look like you do now, more or less. I mean, it's like,
they can't say she looks different, but she's a brilliant actress. They can't say that.
Well, let's put it this way: if you see, what they're trying to find out is what you're acting like now, because some actors keep their chops, and others, like for instance, Joseph Cotton kind of lost it toward the end, as did Jimmy Stewart. Joseph Cotton and Jimmy Stewart were both great for a good long time, but then as older men, they became much less.
Quite a bit older, yeah.
Yeah, they lost those skills. They weren't as good. Whereas certain actors like Melvin Douglas.
Never lost in the house.
Melvin Douglas got better as he got older. He was terrific as an old guy. So anyone who's watching a reel with the intent of seeing if you should be hired wants to see what you can do now, They have these kind of goofy thing that they say, oh well, I guess she hasn't worked for a while in really good stuff, right?
So you have to deal with those kind of prejudices, but no, they want to see what you can do now.
Yes. And Dave has a comment.
I cut a reel for somebody quite a few years ago who insisted on using this very old footage. And so what I ended up doing is doing a little section with a little title treatment for that section that said Cheryl's time capsule. And it went into that, and when that was done, she went back into the last clip. Right. It was current, I think. But there are ways around it, but they are conceits.
Yeah. I mean, the only exception to that is if someone did something really famous in their youth where it's like, oh wow, they were Gypsy Rose Lee or whatever, I mean, but it's like, I mean, the thing that really pisses people off is if the reel or the headshot is significantly younger than the actor or actress, and then they come in and they're just like, oh shit, we're wasting our time here.
Well,
you know.
younger or thinner or anything.
Yeah,
you
have to look like you look. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it may be a good cue for you if you say, okay, in this older clip, what emotionally is missing in current day stuff that I got in this older clip,
right?
And how can I do something new?
Yes, that shows that
self tape something new that shows those skills, or that aspect of character. So if you can just shoot like a short piece of monologue or something quickly with somebody else.
I can do that, but they don't want it. They don't need to see something from LA Law. You know?
No, not anymore.
No.
Not anymore. No, they let you shoot.
I'll take myself and just that's as kosher as putting on.
Yeah, just make sure that the tech is good. Just make sure that the tech is good.
Yeah,
and that they've really got that moment. But it may be a good. But if you're missing that, then yes, try and find that key thing that you don't feel is, in terms of your emotional range as an actor, that isn't in your current stuff, and find an age-appropriate version of it.
Yep.
Yes, and I think I'm realizing why, because I want it right now, but I'm realizing why I'm not goosing my agent, because I'm not sure I want to be on a set with 50 people.
No, and again,
well, you wouldn't be in California. I
mean,
the SAG is pretty strict.
There's rules. But yeah, I think we all have to be very cautious, you know. So
the main thing is the main thing is to go on a compliant set.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But So anything else, Carol?
One last quick question.
Sure.
What do you think the difference is between when you write something, outlining it versus just free associating and go?
When you're free associating, you have a much greater probability of heading nowhere. Okay, because outlining forces you to come up with a beginning, middle, and end, and you can deviate from that as you get into the script. But if you just try to wing it, it's very hard to impose a workable structure on stream of consciousness. Almost impossible.
Now, the exception to that is that there was a writer.
There are exceptions.
Yeah, there was a writer who was extremely fine film writer, and let's say he had a theme, or he had particular dynamic that he felt was very destructive or very helpful to characters, or he thought of a particular character. He would write notes and notes and notes and notes about that specific thing.
Yes.
All aspects of that specific thing. He'd write scenes. He developed characters and write pieces for them, so that he would start investigating and exploring. And then when it was time to write, he would not be facing the blank page.
Mm-hmm.
And the pieces would start to come together in his mind, and whole scenes would become single lines would become whole scenes. But he didn't like facing the blank page, and he had really internally done and written these bits and pieces. Internally, he had a lot to pull from, and he'd come up with a lot because he'd given himself the time and the freedom where he wasn't tied by structure to come up with fresh material.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can work like that, he had pages and envelopes and pages and envelopes of just notes regarding that character or that topic, and then he was able to pull from that. But then he did have to put together a structure.
Yes. And so anything else, Carol?
Just so grateful for you guys.
Okay, sure. Well, thanks. Yay. 3 cheers. Now, before we go to the next Mr. Sci-Fi question, I want to show you something that just came in the mail. I found this on eBay. This is a spacesuit that was actually used in a terrific Twilight Zone episode called Death Ship. And Jack Klugman and Ross Martin were in it. And it was also used in many episodes of the Outer Limits, the original Outer Limits. Shatner wore it. Martin Landau hid the episode he was in. Someone wore this. This is an amazing find. Lucille Ball wore this spacesuit. Bob Hope in different specials they did. And also there was a TV show called Men into Space. And the spacesuit was used in that as well. So pretty amazing to find something like this. It still has the Western costume label on it. So that's really, really cool. So fun stuff. So another Mr. Sci-Fi.
He doesn't have the helmet, but we thought we could use a freezer bag and put in some pinholes for air.
No, you're no fun. But the problem with the helmet was they sold that separately, and it was actually used in the Star Wars cantina scene. And so that the helmet was too expensive. And
how was the authentication about all the people who have worn that suit. How'd that happen?
They had the photos. They had the photos, and I recognized it. I mean, it's just, you know, it says Western costume. It's the real deal. I mean, you know, and it comes with the gloves and the belt. Though interestingly enough, in Death Ship, they didn't wear the belt from this. They wore the belt from Forbidden Planet. So I have a replica of that as well in my collection. So I'll have to, you know, do that. So
does a bag come with the ensemble?
No.
No clothing bag.
No. So yeah, or he meant the bag that you put over your head.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So is there another?
Bag.
Is there another Mr.
Like a handbag, like a nice clutch?
Yeah.
Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. We have a question from Todd Chamberlain.
Yes, Todd. Hello.
Who says, I noticed on Mark's shelf Wyndham's Revolt of the Triffids edition instead of the usual Day of the Triffids.
Yes.
I know they're both the same story, but what's the reason? Is it a regional difference or a different publisher?
Yeah, originally the novel was serialized in an American magazine, and I think it was serialized under that title because Revolt of the Triffids is a more dramatic title than Day of the Triffids. And then I think when it was published in paperback here, they used that same title. But generally, in most editions, it's called Day of the Triffids, and I have the first edition both in British and American hardcover, and it's called Day of the Triffids in both of those. But the paperback, you know, deviated from that. But it's
is the film any good of Day of the Triffids? It's been so long since I've seen it.
It's a mixed bag. It's not great, but the novel's great. There's some radio adaptations that are very good. They've done some BBC TV adaptations of it, but I haven't really.
I keep hearing rumblings of a new film version, but who knows?
Yes. Well, they're going to be doing Midwich Cuckoos, which was filmed as Village of the Damned, as a new TV series. I just found out. So he's a very, very, very good writer. And in fact, something interesting, when he wrote Midwich Cuckoos, it was made into the movie Village of the Damned. They actually hired him to write a sequel novel, and he got about 122 pages into it and stopped, and it was never published. Well, I found out about this, so I contacted the university in England, and they've just sent me a copy of Xeroxes of the original handwritten manuscript. So that's very cool. Very, very cool. So I'm going to be reading that and seeing what I think of it.
Cool.
Yeah, very neat.
Hey, shout out, hey Todd, how are you?
Hi, Todd. From Dave Edison. So David Bartlett, I guess it's your turn. If you can unmute. There you go.
Hi, everyone. David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and the co-producer of Space Command.
Yay!
Also the line producer of the shoots and the head of production and in charge of building the studio and producing the what else am I doing? Visual effects and also the crowdfunding fulfillment.
Yes.
Which we're almost finished with shipping everything we can ship. We've got a couple of things that Mark needs to finish in terms of making a couple of perks.
Yeah.
We can get those out. We've got the physical ones all done. And we just sent 3 large boxes to the UK to be distributed to Europe. So this was a banner week for us in the fulfillment world. Just timed perfectly because my head of fulfillment is moving back to Bolivia.
Yay.
So it'll still be available. And no, it's not really yay, but it's good for her.
Bolivia.
But we'll still have her helping.
Yeah.
I have people spread out all over now. I've got people in Dominican Republic. I have someone who's moving to Austria again one of these days.
Yeah.
So it's an international crew.
Well, there you go.
So we've got lots of sets being constructed. There's still lots of help needed at the studio. And I didn't really talk about myself. I have everybody here has already heard these stories.
Yeah. So you might want to.
Story that Jacob
so make up something totally different.
Something that I've never told.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a hard one.
I was working on Total Recall.
Okay.
With Paul Verhoeven.
Okay.
And Paul is an interesting person. He's very intense. He likes you and leaves you alone, or he doesn't like you and he's relentlessly tortures you.
Yes.
He won't fire you. It takes an enormous amount to be fired. So we were on the dubbing stage together one day, just he and I in the mixer. And there's a few stories I could tell. I'll tell you this one. So there's this strange thing that happens where let's say you've got footsteps, and the footsteps are playing, and there's 3 footsteps in a row. And they take it back and say, okay, let's look at those footsteps. The second one's out of sync. So, okay, let's move the second one 2 frames. So he looks away and comes back, and then you're playing just that footstep. So now that footstep is the first one that you're playing, not the second one anymore.
Right.
You're playing the first one, and the second one, and the third one, but you're really playing the second one, and third one, and then a fourth one you haven't heard yet. But now it's called the first one.
Yeah.
But he missed that part. He thought we were talking about the second one that wasn't out of sync.
Uh-huh.
The first was out of sync, and we got into an argument. And he turned at me and he kind of yelled at me a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I just shut up because I'm a huge fan of his, and I had talked to him before the mixing and how much I admired him, and we shared stories about a selection process of a directing class that I had been involved with here, that he did a similar one in Holland, and we really kind of bonded a little bit. It was really exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of shut up and I was quiet about that. So then it turns out that it was a misunderstanding, and he realized what it was. So a few minutes goes by, and Paul Verhoeven turns and he says, "I'm sorry that I was like that."
Mm-hmm.
Now, the earth could have opened up and swallowed us, because this never, ever happens. But there it was.
That's great.
So later on, because he was an artist too, he came from an art school background. He was doodling a sketch on a yellow pad of a sort of a Romanesque head of someone or whatever and stuff. And I saw that, and he let it go, and I said, he looked at me like, and he saw that, and he saw me looking at it, and he gave it to me. And I said, "Can you sign it?" And he looked at me and he signed it and he gave me that, and I still have that picture.
Wow, that's great. Well, that's a good story.
Paul Verhoeven story.
That's good. Yeah, that's better.
Really cool ones, including one with Jerry Goldsmith, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Wow.
If you guys want to do that, I can tell that too. But that's my news story for today.
Well,
and by the way, folks, I have also yelled at David Bartlett.
Yes.
And
Yes.
If you get a chance, it's really a lot of fun.
Yes. Yes.
Give it a try.
That's great. Well, 3 cheers.
It's guaranteed the response.
Yeah. So is there anything? Yeah, go ahead. So please, you have the floor.
So that's that news story.
Great. That's great.
We have on our plate a great deal of help needed at the studio.
Yes.
And I can tell that you all on the screen now are going to call me and sign up to come and paint sets and build sets.
Yay.
But Eric Rodriguez, our designer of our alien spaceship sets and our creatures, came in today. And I have a couple of videos I'm going to share with Mark, and he'll probably put them up. But
great.
You have the famous bladders were delivered. And the bladders are these rubber items.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
In a very bizarre manner I won't describe too much.
Yeah.
But they expand and contract back up into the holes that are in the alien spaceship.
They're really neat.
Oh, wow.
So we had some lights out for those.
Wow.
We had some tests of having that happen. We had
Cool.
some operating them. There was slime involved. There was all sorts of things.
Great.
Oh, cool.
So we had a very interesting little bonding session about bladders.
That's great.
And we're going to send out a video about that. But
Good.
there's still a lot to do, a lot of construction, a lot of painting. If you guys don't want to come out and help out, you can. I also have some paint jobs I'm offering.
Cool.
And I've got a couple table emails and got some good responses from those. I'm interviewing some people tomorrow.
Great.
We need carpenters, and we need, hope the slime is green. No, the slime is clear at this point, but it very well could be green in the future.
Great.
Someone just gave me that text. So if you want to be interested, if you're interested in doing that, I need a PA that has a car, which I'm paying for, and I need a carpenter who I'm also paying.
Cool.
And also volunteers. So you can go, let me see, you can let me know of that. And my email, which I'm about to post up here too.
Cool.
And that brings me to the table email portion of our adventure.
Yes.
I think everybody here is in the table email.
Yeah, they are.
If you guys have any trouble with that, let me know. If anybody's in Mr. Sci-Fi listening, you have to check out and find out what that means. It's a secret. But if you're a table member, you get to be on the table email, which there are over 2,000 members, and you can talk to them and ask them for help and offer them your help. And it's a very good way to network and help people with each other's projects. So Space Command is one of those projects, and we're always looking for people to help on Space Command. So the studio is 2 miles from the fires, but thankfully the wind is blowing in a different direction now. But I actually had ash on my car, which reminded me of the days in 1980 when Mount St. Helens erupted, which was 40 miles from where I grew up.
Wow.
We had about an inch of ash on our cars that day. So
wow.
That was an interesting memory to have.
Yes.
You would drive over the Markham Bridge in Portland, which used to show 5 or 6 of the most beautiful mountains in the world. And there was Mount Hood and Mount Baker and Mount Rainier and a volcano.
Wow.
Shooting straight up.
Wow.
For thousands of feet.
Wow.
With a pure plain view of driving like you would just be normally going to.
Wow. Wow.
So that kind of reminded me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Wow.
It's usually behind we just had the area behind the studio paved, right? And it's a large, long row of pavement, beautiful black, perfect pavement, except right in front of our doors where all the sand from the standing of the painting is being blown out right across the black pavement.
Uh-huh.
I looked out there today and I was like, how come the entire pavement is white like that? It's the ash from the fires.
Wow. Wow.
So
yeah,
there you go.
There
we
you
have
go.
a little ecology moment in Space Command yesterday. There was a dragonfly that was trapped in a giant fan, one of the giant fans we have.
Wow.
So Maeve and I turned off the fan and carefully pulled it out and recovered it, and it was sitting on my finger, and it sort of was stunned and hanging around like this, like, what just happened? It was like literally stuck to the fan.
Sure.
So we carefully took it outside and waited, and after a couple of seconds, it flew away, and it was fine.
Wow.
So
that's great.
That's great.
And it flew home to its family and told them all about the alien abduction that it had encountered. So
yes, much like what had happened.
Yes, exactly. So anything else?
I think that about covers it.
Cool. Yay! 3 cheers. So do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
We've got lots of sci-fi questions.
Sure.
Let's go to our next one. Let's see. Okay, that's not a question. Sorry. Question from Bob Rich.
Okay. Hi, Bob.
Says, hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
From all the authors who have written books about screenwriting, such as Sid Field, Robert McKee, John Truby, which do you recommend the most?
I'm not a big fan of screenwriting books because if you'll notice, none of those people have written great movies. So I much prefer reading books written by people who know what they're talking about. William Goldman wrote Adventures in the Screen Trade. Sidney Lumet, who's a great director, he directed 12 Angry Men, among many other great movies like Dog Day Afternoon. He wrote a book about directing that was really great. I believe.
What about Joe Esterhazy?
Well, his films were kind of funky, he wrote Basic Instinct and stuff like that. He's had ups and downs as a career. I haven't read his book. But for me, what I find most useful is reading scripts written by people who are terrific scriptwriters. Like I read scripts by Richard Matheson and Serling and Charles Beaumont and George Clayton Johnson when I was writing the Twilight Zone book, and then just figuring how to take those apart and then emulate, what they're doing without copying.
The challenge is that we used to do talks more on screenwriting, and with these people who had never written a screenplay.
Yes.
And the thing is, if you don't have, if the voice isn't in your head, if something isn't speaking to you from the world of your life, people were coming to us and feeling as though they had to put on a corset.
Yes.
They had to wear a corset to write a screenplay, which were the biases and prejudices of each particular teacher, rather than looking at the vast array of wonderful screenplays that have a huge number of different structures and approaches. And that's why we always say, look to the films that touch you, that seem to make sense to you, because we've seen so many people who had wonderful stories come really upset because somebody was trying to corset them into this very twisted, narrow, specific path. And once they talked through our story, we were able to talk them through something that would really help them tell their story in their voice. And that's when you get something really powerful.
Yes.
So that's why we usually say, find the writer or the people who wrote a book about it, but the writer who really speaks to you, and then cherry pick. Because if you read 4 books, you may find some in one book, an approach to character really suits. In another book, an approach to theme really works. Be very, don't think that anybody has the answers.
Right. Yeah. Well,
listen to your own music.
Oh, cool.
It's
Great.
important.
Now, also, by the way, Scott Baker on Mr. Sci-Fi mentioned he's a Midwich Cuckoos mega fan. This is just to let you know, this is the first British edition of Midwich Cuckoos. So it's got a pretty cool cover, and it's a very, very cool book. I highly recommend it. So, okay, cool. So now Mark Agushowitz, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi. First of all, the Sidney Lumet book is called Making Movies, and just to let people know, I think it's an understatement saying it's a really great book. It is the book on directing.
Yeah, Sidney Lumet. Yeah, it's great.
It's a book that's written so that the layman who never even thought about behind the scenes of movies, can understand it. And it's got the greatest stories because it's what I don't like about screenwriting books and books of that sort is the people who write them aren't actually working in the business.
Yeah.
That's right.
They actually failed.
Right.
Whereas Sidney Lumet is somebody who's telling you its experiences from somebody who was one of the best in the business.
I know. Well, another thing we didn't mention, Mark, is that one of the wonderful, amazing gifts of the last few decades that's going to vanish as this medium vanishes are audio commentaries on DVDs. You know, because you get to have this often the screenwriters, often the directors, often the stars talking about how they made the film, and now not all of them are good. Some people don't know how to do those commentaries. They're just, you know, a waste of time. But the people who can do them well, it's amazing because you have the record step by step of how they did it. That's really amazing. So I highly recommend those.
There are quite a few shows that I've noticed that have commentaries on them.
Yes.
That are not DVD Blu-rays, they're streamers.
Oh, really?
That's interesting. There's that. But go ahead, Mark, please.
Okay, so my name's Mark. I'm an editor. I think everybody on this screen knows me, and so anything I have to say is just going to be repeated the last month. With the exception of, I made my way down to Space Command Studios a couple days ago, and David, I'm just waiting to hear about a job. I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking to maybe see if I can come down another day, because you said you still needed help on the computer. But I have to find out about a job first, so I'm not guaranteeing it, but I'm trying.
Great.
So I actually had a lot of fun. I actually like working with Dave a lot. We have a lot in common movie-wise, so talking movies with him is always a lot of fun too. But everything else, I mean, anything else I got to say is basically the same thing I've said the last 3 weeks. And there's nothing new is happening except for when I went down to Space Command Studios, I got to get out of this office for a change.
That's great.
You guys are staring at. So I'm actually thinking about starting to change up posters and stuff just so I can feel like I'm someplace new.
Yes. Well, that's why I've redecorated the wall that you see behind us. I had all these things I'd wanted for some time to put up on the wall, and I finally got around to doing it. So,
hey, I got a favor to ask of you, Mark. Is I have that Cabinet of Curiosities book. I brought it with me in case you showed up at the studio. But David says that you're not there a lot on the weekdays.
No.
If I gave it to David Bartlett, could you sign it for me?
I'd have to ask my people if that's allowable. Yes, of course. I'd be happy to, of course. And
well, I don't want to just assume things.
Oh no, I'm happy to, of course, and I'm very proud of that book. It was great fun writing it, and you know, so yeah, absolutely, happy to do it.
It's a really great book too. People should definitely check it out, especially if you're a big fan of Guillermo del Toro. But yeah, nothing new really happening for me though. So, and Dave, next time I see you, I want to hear the Jerry Goldsmith story. You know, me being Planet of the Apes fan, I got to hear the Jerry Goldsmith story.
Well, next time we'll do it. Next time we'll do it. So great.
Well, if I see him next week, you can tell me then too.
That'll be great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
But that's it,
Excellent.
By the way, after last week, Mark and I spoke and worked incredibly well to download onto a jump drive. This is a USB 3 jump drive, the latest Mac operating system, and you just boot the computer off of the jump drive.
Wow!
And you got an entirely fresh computer. So they say it works, and in fact it does. So thanks, Mark.
That's cool.
That's nice.
Anytime.
And also, if I stumbled across something I thought of you on YouTube. They have a lot of these kids records, you know, with a record and book set, you know, read along kind of things.
Oh, how fun!
There's a whole series of the Planet of the Apes ones.
Wow, that's
really
fun.
On YouTube.
I'll have to check that out. No, I did not know that. I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, well, it's really. I mean, YouTube is an amazing resource, and it's not just video. They have, you know, they've started putting audio plays and all sorts of weird, interesting rarities, you know, and so there's. I mean, before one looks to buy a movie or an audio thing of any kind, it's a good idea to go on YouTube and see if it's there, because it often will be. And
I just found on YouTube, I don't know why I was looking for it, but when I go on my walks every night, I like to listen to audiobooks, but because of the pandemic, my wife and I work, and I don't have any money, but I found a YouTube page that's just a group of people reading all sorts of Stephen King short stories.
Wow, how fun.
So you really can find anything that you would normally purchase.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's really great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay, Mark. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next question is from the Fanch. I hope I think that's, yeah. What other way are you going to pronounce
Sure,
that?
you bet.
He says, hello, Zikri people. How do you feel about Star Trek Day in these troubled times of corporate turmoil?
Well, as I understand, Star Trek Day is where they had a lot of the Star Trek actors like on interviews and so forth via Zoom and so forth. It's fine. I mean, anything that allows people to be entertained or diverted. I mean, people are, climbing the walls. I mean, fortunately, Elaine and I have been, able to continue production and all the things we do. So we're fine, and we have each other, thank God. Otherwise, I would have gotten a basketball and painted a face on it. But I just, I don't have much of an opinion about it. I mean, it's like, I love science fiction conventions. Obviously being in person is better than being online, but that's not going to work right now. I think science fiction conventions in general are one of the miracles of the genre, because there are not many places where you can meet your heroes, both the writers and the actors, and science fiction conventions have been that since 1939, basically. And it's just phenomenal, really phenomenal. I mean, also when you look at the guest rosters on past science fiction conventions, the first World Science Fiction Convention was in 1939 in New York, and Ray Bradbury attended it. He told me all about it. But, I mean, Hugo Gernsback, who basically, created amazing stories, he was a guest there. And, all these phenomenal writers, Robert Bloch, who corresponded with Lovecraft. I mean, it's just amazing to have met some of these guys and talked to them. And
I don't know if it was that one, 39, but also Forrest J. Ackerman.
Yes, it was. Forey loaned Ray $100 so he could take the train to New York. And the banquet at the first World Science Fiction Convention was $1, and Ray couldn't afford it. So he stood in the back of the room and listened to the speakers, but couldn't have the meal. And Ray also told me that one of the things they did when they were in New York was they went to the New York World's Fair, and they had these fireworks at night, and Ray was looking up at them with tears streaming down his face, because everyone knew that a world war was coming. And Ray thought to himself, he was only 19 at the time, he thought to himself, I will be drafted into that war and I will die and no one will ever know I existed. And so he was grieving over that future. And fortunately, of course, Ray had terrible eyesight, and so he was 4F and didn't have to go to war. But yeah, it was, I mean, to sit in Ray's house. And
is that anything like Bone Spurs?
No, fortunately not. But Ray was really, I mean, to have the honor of knowing him and going to his house once a month for over 10 years and just sit with him and talking, and was just one of the great experiences of my life. I'm so glad that happened. I never knew it would, but it was a huge gift. So cool. So I guess.
Well, you should tell the story someday about how that happened, because you thought you were being called on the carpet.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because, Ray wrote the movie Moby Dick with John Huston directed, starring Gregory Peck, and everyone felt that Gregory Peck was sort of miscast, and including Gregory Peck. And then they did a TV version of it where Gregory Peck played Father Mapple and delivered the sermon, and did a great job. This was decades later. And then I came across a record album of Charles Laughton, the great Charles Laughton, playing Ahab in an audio dramatization. So I thought, well, I'll edit together these three into sort of the ultimate Moby Dick, where it starred Charles Laughton, and Gregory Peck was Father Mapple, and I mean, I just kind of mixed and matched because they all followed the same dialogue basically. And so one Christmas I made this up as a DVD, as a CD, an audio CD. It was about 90 minutes long, and I gave it to my friends. And I would never have given it to Ray Bradbury because I was screwing with his work, But then someone gave it to him, apparently, because one day I came home and on my answering machine there was a message which was, "Hello, Mr. Zikri. This is Ray Bradbury. I've just listened to your Moby Dick. Please call me." And I thought, "Oh fuck! I've pissed off Ray Bradbury." And I called him with sort of my heart in my throat, and he said, "I loved it." He said, "I was dear friends with Charles Laughton. You must come to the house." And so I went to the house, and we hit it off. And then for once a month for over 10 years, I would visit, go to the house, and we'd sit and we'd talk, and he would invite me to his plays free of charge, and because he always had a play going, and we went to a screening in San Pedro of his version of Moby Dick, and we were dear friends. In fact, I got to write an introduction to the Complete Martian Chronicles, which again was a singular honor, and it was just that it was so wonderful, and because I'd given up on I'd wanted Ray Bradbury to be a friend and mentor, since he was the first writer I ever saw in person when I was 10, and or maybe even 7. I think I was 7, but by the time I got into my 40s, I just assumed that ship had sailed and it wasn't going to happen. And then just out of the blue, he called me, and we became really close friends. So thank God for surprises in this life, for good surprises. So
if only that Moby Dick recording was available to Mr. Sci-Fi fans.
Yeah, it's on Mr. Sci-Fi. If you just type in Moby Dick,
you can.
Thank you, Dave. If you type in Moby Dick on Mr. Sci-Fi, you can actually listen to the entire audio play, which I think is really fun to listen to. And so in some cases, we were cutting between different versions in a given scene, where we'd have actors talking to each other who weren't in the same version together. So that was pretty fun. So thanks for that. So now I guess it's Elaine's turn, right? Elaine, wonderful Elaine, yay! How are you doing, Elaine?
Okay. I think I mentioned Mark gave me an opportunity. I'd written a piece a while back called Harbor,
yes,
which is about a magical place where you can be offered the possibility of a second chance.
Yeah, an otherworldly small town that you suddenly find yourself in.
Yes, that you find yourself in, where you have the possibility of a second chance, where all of the physical obstacles are removed towards you getting a second chance, but then you're dealing with all of the mess inside you, and whether or not that's feasible for you to grasp at and change or not. So I'd written a version of that, and then it was sitting, and then Mark gave me an opportunity to hand it out to a couple of people. So I thought, well, I better find, because I knew it needed a rewrite.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, the first act is way too long. And so I thought, okay, I'll rewrite it. And then once you get into those things, you find out it was a lot more than the first act, and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd already said, oh, it's coming. And so I was doing I kept promising Mark I would get back to Space Command. And I just went on and on this rewrite. But I finished yesterday.
Yay! 3 cheers.
And I don't know about other people, but when I'll write until I'm tired and I get stuck on a scene or a bit of dialogue, because I just can't think of how to write myself out of a knot. And so at night, as I'm trying to sleep, my mind is gnawing and gnawing and gnawing at that particular knot. And then I have to get up like 2 or 3 in the morning to write my way out.
Yeah. So
it's pretty intense when I'm trying to do a rewrite and fix something that had potential but had a tremendous amount of mess in it.
Yes.
I'm a revving engine. But so when I finally finished it and Mark sent it off yesterday, I felt this great sense of relief, and a weight was lifted where I didn't have to be constantly thinking of, no, that's 5 too many words in that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And I could stop breaking my promise, which was every day, I'll finish this tomorrow and I'll get onto Space Command. So I finally finished, and we'll get back onto Space Command.
Great. Yay. 3 cheers. Now, if you want to see a photo of Elaine writing that pilot in the office, I just posted it on Facebook and Twitter, so you can check those out and see a wonderful photo of Elaine that I truly love. So great. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
I saw that photo.
There's also that great photo you just posted of you two on your honeymoon.
Huh.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All those kids so full of potential.
Yes.
How sad, yes.
43 years ago. So great. So go ahead, Adam, please.
Yes. We have, I'm just going to pick one more question here from Scott Baker.
Yay.
You were talking about sci-fi conventions. He asked, are you planning to hit the convention circuit when the pandemic is over and things get back to normal?
I will. Yes. I'll definitely go to Worldcon, maybe World Fantasy Con, maybe New York Comic Con. I really liked it. I preferred it to the one in San Diego. We'll see. I mean, it's always about the balance between making the content and promoting the content. And there was a year, I think a couple of years ago, where I spent most of that year going to many more conventions than I normally do, just banging the drum for Space Command. I would show it at many of the conventions, and that was fun. And I made many contacts who proved very, very useful. But again, I was glad the following year to bring the focus back onto writing and directing and producing. So, yep.
And all around that 16mm print.
Yes. So I guess it's my turn. Yeah. So here's what's going on, guys. A lot. Let's see. Well, with Space Command, as Dave mentioned, we're working to finish post-production, visual effects, and so forth on the second hour of the pilot, and we've come a long way on that, and we're just continuing to complete sequences and have that done soon. We're working hard on it, and meantime, we're also getting ready to shoot the second hour of Forgiveness, which is the second Space Command story. We shot the third hour of Space Command already, and so we're building sets and getting everything ready, pulling everything together, and the Space Command car is being built, and it just keeps going. It's pretty amazing and fun. And meantime, with Sweet Haven, the show we're creating with Rockne O'Bannon, we have an amazing cast: Barbara Bain, Mira Furlan, Bob Picardo, Mike Harney, on and on. I mean, it's just really, really great. Gates McFadden is in it. And so we're going to do the table read on that in the next couple of weeks. And George Takei is reading the script now to see if he'll play a role. And then Fugitive Space, Mark Fergus, and his partner who created The Expanse, have come aboard that project, because I'm doing the Showrunners Network, which will be 6 series. So it's going to be Space Command, Fugitive Space, Sweet Haven, and then I'm talking to Jodie Serling, Rod's daughter, about a show I want to do called Rod Serling's After Twilight, and she really likes the idea. So we'll see what happens with that. And I'm also going to be reaching out to the Vonnegut estate, because Mark Fergus would very much like to do some show around Vonnegut's works. And I had a very weird idea, and I don't know if it'll work or not. Vonnegut created a science fiction writer named Kilgore Trout, who was this kind of rumpled, very unsuccessful science fiction writer. And throughout many of his books, he's relating the plots of science fiction, of the science fiction writer's books. And he has one of the titles is like Pan-Galactic something, but then it was retitled by the publisher Mouth Crazy. Because there's always this, he'd been like, his stories would be published in porn magazines and things. Kilgore Trout, of course, was named after Theodore Sturgeon, who was a great science fiction writer. His photos behind me on the wall, and he was a dear friend of mine. And I found out when I went on Wikipedia that they actually had met before Vonnegut was famous, when Vonnegut was working as a car salesman, and they became friends when Vonnegut was when Theodore Sturgeon was famous, and Vonnegut later created Kilgore Trout as a nom de plume of Sturgeon. And so I'm thinking of maybe pitching a show that would be it would be called Trout and Sturgeon, and it would be alternating the stories of Kilgore Trout with the stories of Theodore Sturgeon. And so it's a very strange idea, but rather a fun one. And so because Theodore Sturgeon, other than being sort of impoverished, was not temperamentally or in terms of his work anything like Kilgore Trout. He didn't have that same strange jaundiced view that Vonnegut had. But anyway, so we're working on that, and I'm writing the book Greenlighting Yourself, which I've already sold. I just need to finish it. But it was fun because the last few days I've been writing it, and I wanted to mention that Cory Doctorow, who's a very famous science fiction writer, had put all of his work out free on the internet, and then he would publish a version that the fans could buy. And so I wrote to Cory to make sure I had the details right, and he immediately answered me. And then with Neil Gaiman, I was writing about what Neil does, and how he and Michael Reeves came to write Inner World, and Neil immediately emailed me back and went into more detail, which I then quoted. So it's fun to be writing the book and reaching out to all these people I know and having them be so responsive and supportive, and so that's great. And so it all continues. I just find that I don't quite have enough time in the day, but it's thrilling. All of it's thrilling, and to see scenes get completed is quite a thrill. So I guess Michelle Hart is connecting, so we'll wait for Michelle to connect, and then we'll have her turn, and then we'll call it a night. So if she,
in the meantime,
Michelle,
yeah,
go ahead, Adam.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Hey,
I was going to say, Sturgeon and Trout has a better ring to it.
It does,
that's
but
my
yeah,
opinion.
I know. No, I agree.
Take it or leave it.
We'll see.
But
But I'm just kind of playing with it. I doubt very much if we're going to get much headway with the Vonnegut estate. But so there's Michelle. Hello, Michelle. You're the last person. So do you want to take your turn? Can you hear us? If you want to unmute, we can hear you. There you go.
Is there nobody else who's spoken?
Everyone else has spoken. So you're the last.
Came on just in time.
I have not a whole lot to say. The wonderful Adam Sartain helped me to tape something or record something for some people who are doing something with a pseudo Shakespeare thing, which I would love to do. I'll take pseudo Shakespeare, any sort of Shakespeare.
Yes.
And they were actually going to pay money for it, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. I'm running about selling closets to people, and supposedly that's making some money, but it's interesting. I'm going to wind up writing a book about all the weirdness that happens with it. And other than that, I'm dealing with the same weirdness that everyone else is dealing with.
Yes.
You know, the world is gray here, and I spoke to my son in San Francisco where the world is orange.
Yes. Wow.
It's all very strange.
Yeah.
The world is weird.
Well, we just all have to help each other and get through it, you know. So is there anything you need, Michelle?
Sanity?
Yes.
Are you providing that?
We're trying.
I need to know that Voiceless Roar is going to move forward.
Yes.
Because
I'm trying. I mean,
yeah.
as the COVID thing winds down, I can, really start pushing for the money again.
Yes. So, and no,
you're my only hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes, exactly. But we're pursuing a number of Elaine's projects very actively right now. Roadside Attractions is reading her script. Snow Princess. The showrunner Joe Dougherty is reading Harbor, her new pilot, to see if he'll come aboard that project, and Amazon is reading that now for consideration. So anything that clicks helps everything rise, and happen.
Yes.
So we're pushing it hard.
Crossed, but yes, I'm desperate to get that directed. And,
yes,
out to the public.
Yep. So great. So anything else for now, Michelle?
Nothing that I can think of. I'm wildly disorganized. Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm doing too many things at once, and none of them are paying a great deal of money, and
yes.
so I'm scattered.
Yes, I understand. Well, it's good seeing you anyway.
I'm glad you came in just when you did.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did too. There aren't very many people tonight, I guess.
A lot of people left. A lot of people have signed off. So it's like a restaurant where people come and go. So
some people had to go to bed, like the ones in England.
Yes, and some people just had to, their other personalities were encroaching. So is there anything else, Adam, any final things from you, Adam, or any questions, or we can call it a night?
No, I was just going to offer, if you need help with like a virtual stage manager for your table read, I'd be happy to do it.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
absolutely. That'd be terrific. Yeah. So great. Well,
just, let me know.
Okay, terrific.
I'm available for table reads or, whatever. This thing is very strange in terms of time. So there's lots of pieces of loose time, and evenings are pretty much always open.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's so important through this time that we be of support to each other, because it's none of us have lived through a time like this. It's very funny because Norman Lloyd, who I'm reaching out to, he's an actor, he's 105 years old. He actually was alive and was a child in New Jersey during the 1918 pandemic. So that's pretty amazing, really amazing. So
we drove him one time. We drove him with our limousine company one time.
Wow. The last time,
and he was very old then.
Yes. Well, the last time I spoke with him was at Norman Corwin's memorial, and he was pushing 100 at that point. So, and Norman, of course, made it to 101. Norman Corwin, who was a dear friend of mine, and so it's we'll see if we can get him, and if I want to cast him in Sweet Haven, but we'll see how he's doing and if he's up to it and all that stuff. But that would be very, very fun. I mean, my God. So I guess we've come full circle, and it's been another great evening with the Mr. Sci-Fi fans and with the table. So we're here every Thursday night, 5:30 Pacific time. So thanks, guys. I guess stay well, stay safe. We'll talk to you next time. Okay. Okay. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Great. And bye everybody. See you next time.